without question, Jimmy Carr is one of my favourite comedians, and I was actually fortunate enough to see Funny Business when he was touring it in 2015, 2016, and I hadn't actually ever watched it once it was released. I thought enough time has passed. I can't really remember most of the jokes from it. I thought it was the perfect time to give it a rewatch on Netflix, and I remember thoroughly enjoying it back in the day, and it is just as funny as I remember it. I won't obviously tell you any of the jokes, but I will just say that it's very much worth watching. There's quite a lot of audience interaction, and I think that's mostly what I want to talk about here. So with regards to the subjects that he talks about, wide-ranging. There isn't really one main topic here. Sometimes comedians will have a kind of overarching story, and they will tell an anecdote that lasts the full show, and they digress and tell jokes around about it. Jimmy Carr is not really anecdotal. He's not really an observational comedian. He's very much more just about one-liners that sometimes branch off into additional jokes. And because of that, he obviously covers a lot of different ground and a lot of different topics. And a lot of that humour comes from the audience. There's a lot of audience interaction with this one, which I love, because it means that every show is unique. So this was obviously not the one that I went to see. I'm not entirely sure where this was filmed, but it would have been in one of the bigger venues than one I went to. So it's straight away different to the one that I saw, because the audience interaction was very, very different. And I will say he talks to some of the audience members very bluntly. There is a point where he is, how do I say this without YouTube picking this up as being demonetizable, pretending to pleasure himself on stage. And on several occasions he says that he accidentally got it on a certain member of the audience. I hope that makes sense. I can't really say things without YouTube screaming at me. He's very blunt. And he's very blunt about other members of the audience as well. And he doesn't sugarcoat anything. And that is what you expect from Jimmy Carr. But I actually think this is the most severe I've ever seen him. Not in a bad way. I don't care. I don't find it offensive. If any of these things were said to me, I wouldn't find it offensive. You can't really go to a Jimmy Carr show and be offended, because you know what you're getting yourself in for. Unless, of course, you don't. You've never seen him and you don't know what his style of comedy is like. In which case, I'm sorry. I can't even imagine what that experience would be like. There was a very awkward moment in this, actually, where there is somebody in the audience from, I think, China. And it's the second time he goes back to this girl in the audience. And what he says the second time, I just felt like her response was really awkward. And I think she might have felt a little bit embarrassed. But usually the audience members he talks to are in good humour. And the reason I'm talking about the audience a lot is because a lot of this is audience interaction. He even invites heckles at one point. The heckles were a little bit dull, but he bounces back from them and makes it quite funny. He talks a little bit about religion. Most of it's kind of sexual humour. And I'll be honest, I recently watched his Dark Material, which is a show he released, I think last year at the end of 2021. And it's supposed to be his career enders, his worst, most technically offensive, risky jokes ever. And I'll be honest, I found this one a lot worse. I mean, I say worse, I thoroughly enjoyed it and thought it was hilarious. But if you're easily offended, I'd say this one is a lot more offensive than his Dark Material. I think maybe that's because this one's a lot more personal. As I said, the audience participation means that he is making fun of specific members of the audience, specific people that will actually make you drop your jaw on occasion, because he says things that nobody would ever say to another human being ever. Whereas his Dark Material, there wasn't any audience participation really, maybe a tiny little bit. So it was a lot more general. And I feel like it felt a lot less like he was attacking people in that version, whereas this one, he doesn't hold back. He doesn't care who you are. But again, it's Jimmy Carr. It's a joke. If you can't take a joke with Jimmy Carr, don't see this. I do thoroughly recommend that you check it out, though. I usually prefer stand-up that has an overarching anecdote or a story or a theme. Jimmy Carr is one of the few comedians who I can watch where you literally don't know what's going to come out of his mouth and you don't know what to expect. Not only can I tolerate that, but with Jimmy Carr, I actively seek it out. I think he's fantastic. He never fails to make me laugh. Also, the text messages as well. This has got an interactive element with some text messages. I can confirm that they are at least real to a degree. Because I remember texting when I went. He did not pick my boring text, of course. But, that's something I've never seen a comedian do. I'm sure some people have, but it's an element that I found really interesting and really enjoyable with this one as well. Because, again, it's going to make each show different. Jimmy Carr, Funny Business, is it my favourite of his stand-up shows? I don't know. That's a difficult question to answer because there are a lot of, he's done a lot of brilliant stand-up shows. But certainly it's one of his most shocking. I would say it's more shocking than his Dark Material. If you watched his Dark Material and didn't really cope well with it, Funny Business isn't for you. But if you are not offended by comedy, Funny Business is one that you might just want to check out.